Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to do maintenance on another Kitchenaid mixer. This is another KSM5 solid state. This is not a Hobart Kitchenaid, but it's still, a pretty beefy Kitchenaid here. It's a KSM5 350 watt mixer. It's got this lift arm mixer here, and she says it runs good, just wants maintenance done on it. So and we can verify that it runs good. So let's go ahead and let's take off these accessories here so they don't get in the way. Let's start with a quick check of the brushes. As you see, brushes look really good, nice and long. That side as well. Alright, so now that we know the brushes are good, we can go ahead and start getting this separated for grease removal. And we want to definitely be gentle, prying off this drip ring here. You can see there's a little bit of grease in there, but it's mostly just flour buildup in there. It catches more than grease. Alright, let's spin this around and go ahead and just pull this back cover off here. Alright, we can take a look at our cord connections. Of course, everything looks good on it. There's some flour buildup in here because it's got the fan that sucks everything through. But after we get done with the grease in here, and then we'll focus back here. But I do want to get that off so we can get our band off here. Looks like the screw went in a little crooked. Screws seem to be a little tighter than they need to be. Maybe a bit of cross threading in there. Alright, so now we can get our band off. Carefully. There we go. Alright, you can see there's grease, oil, gunk in there. So I'll have to clean that off. And if you look on a machine, you can see how the oil just gets everywhere on here. So we're going to put a gasket on this as well. Alright, so now I'm going to go ahead and get our screws off. There's 4 screws right here that are holding this down, because there's 2 screws underneath here we have to get these halves. So the only way to separate this is you have to take it off of this right here, which we want to check our plastic piece on this lift arm anyways. And have at her. Doesn't seem all that tight. Fortunately, this one is considerably tighter. That'll work more. I can't really see, but I hope you guys can. Sometimes you crack these loose. I mean, they usually come right out with your fingers. Even, you know, these ones back here. Alright, so once you have these 4 screws out, lift your head or your entire motor right off the base assembly. And now we can get a good look at our plastic lift arm down there, which looks good. I don't see it cracked or broken. So now we can move the base right out of the way. Let's see if I can change the view here for you guys. Okay, now when you get to this part here, there's going to be 5 screws that you can't get to until you remove this. So there's a pin here. We're going to go through and we're going to drive this pin out right now. And for that you just need some kind of punch and a hammer. And it should come right out, but sometimes they can be stuck in there pretty good. Okay, that one's starting to move now. There we go. Almost pinch myself there. Alright. Now it's just a matter of prying the planetary up and off. Use a little tip that somebody had told me on YouTube. And honestly, it was a great tip. Look how well that worked. Alright, now I'm just trying to get past the O-ring. Take these wash off, and when this comes off, you can see how dry that is. I mean, there's a little bit of oil down in there, but there is not a speck of grease on this gear at all, and there is none. You can see on here, there's no grease here at all. So that's something that we'll definitely address as well. Alright, we got 2 washers here. It looks like 1, but there's actually 2 washers here together. And let's start getting some paper towels ready, because this will get messy. Alright, now to take this apart, you gotta take out 5 screws here. There's 2 screws here and 2 screws here. Alright, so get those out, and this sun gear right here, it is replaceable, but you can pry on this thing all day and you're probably not going to get it out. So if your machine makes a lot of noise and you see these teeth are really worn or broken, whatever, you'll have to basically heat this up, the body of this up, after you get it separated on the grease off, of course. And then once that's heated up, it expands enough where this will pop right out. But as far as sitting here trying to just pop it out, well, I don't know, this one just moved when I did that, so, oh yeah, see, that one will come out. That's the first one I've seen that would actually want to come out. Yep, it's moving. So if that had to be replaced, I could pop that out right now. And then you'll see when you go to put them back in, one edge got a bevel on it. You want to make sure that your bevel is facing up and that your screw holes are aligned. Alright, pull 2 screws out of there, and then we just got the 2 back here. Try and tilt this so you can see right where we're at. Alright, now I'm going to take the O-ring off of there first too. Just got to find the right screwdriver. Here it is. And these O-rings are also replaceable if you happen to damage it getting them off, but they're usually pretty pliable. You just got to get it up out of the groove, and then you can kind of roll it right on off of there. Alright, so now to separate these two, you just got to give it a pry like that. You'll see it'll break the seal. And then you can just work it off. Now surprisingly, this one doesn't look like it has really a lot of grease in it compared to most of them. But we're going to go and clean all this old grease off of these, because we don't want any of that in there with the new grease. And we're also going to replace this gasket because if I get this off in one piece, I'll show you. If you look on the edge here, there's like quite a buildup of oil on the edge. This side not so bad, but you can see it sitting on top of the gasket here. So it's getting in between. I mean, yeah, this is all oil right here, so it's definitely getting in between the metal and this gasket. So we got a new gasket for this that we're just going to replace this with. I can't see putting the gasket back on. It's not doing its job. Alright, if I can give you guys an idea of the grease in here. Alright, that's the grease. As you can tell, it doesn't really look a whole lot like grease anymore. It's pretty solid. And a lot of the liquid that used to be in here is now all over the rest of the machine. And this one has got really probably a third of the grease in it that I usually see in these. But this job here is, not the funnest thing to do, is to get the grease out of these Kitchenaids. But it's well worth it. Look at that, that's like rubber right there. It's well worth it if you want them to last. And these machines, they cost a pretty penny, so it's a good idea to get the maintenance done on them for sure. You can buy a replacement gasket online, you can buy replacement grease online, or use whatever kind of grease you prefer, and just take it apart and do it. There's a ton of videos online, I'm sure, for how to change the grease in your Kitchenaid. That's as far as I'm going to go on this one with on the camera. I'm going to go through. I'm going to pull this gear, because this gear will come right out, and we go ahead and get that all cleaned off. Clean out down in here where there's a bunch of nasty grease, and just clean out as much of this grease as we can get. And same with this. I'm going to end up pulling this worm gear off of here and checking it out really well. It looks good, so we're probably not going to do anything with that other than degrease this whole assembly here, because there's another gear down there. Degrease this entire assembly, and you know, get it nice and clean. And same with this gear here. We're going to get this gear out, clean out from under it, because you can see there's some nasty old grease under it. Get this whole thing degreased, and once I get all these parts done, we'll come back and we'll put it back together. Okay, as you see, we've got everything cleaned up here. We disassembled the whole assembly with the worm gear, so we get everything all clean and degreased in there. And we got, you know, grease clean out of here, and this as well. About the only thing that's left is this part here. You know, this planetary. We want to pull this out so we can clean all this grease out of here and get this all polished up nice. So. Okay, try to get you guys a little bit better view here. As you see, we've got, you know, everything cleaned up and degreased as well as we can. And there's just, you can see where I scrape it on it. That's just a little varnish that's in there that won't come out. But we can go ahead and we can start getting everything reassembled here. And the nice thing about disassembling everything is you can get all the old chunks of grease, you know, like on this one in particular. This one had some pretty significant chunks on it. On here I had to do a lot of scraping actually on here, because it was, the old grease was pretty much solidified in there, and I mean, it had to go, so we ended up just scraping it off of there. So this is, you know, this definitely is a little bit of work to this, so, you know, if this is something you're planning on doing, you know, be prepared to, you know, just take some time for this, because it's not a couple minute job by any means. You know, you know, put a couple hours into it, you know, more or less getting rid of the old grease. I mean, taking it apart and putting it back together is the easy part. It's you know, getting everything clean, that's the hard part. That's going to take some time. You know, just make sure you get grease back on all your moving parts when they go together. Throw our gear back on. And it's got to make sure your pin is centered so the gear will sit down all the way on it. If it doesn't want to go down all the way, that means your pin isn't quite centered. There we go. So you got to get it down so you have your lip showing for your little snap ring here. And like with all snap rings, you just want to make sure that this gets seated in the groove properly. Because I know a lot of snap rings, people put them on and they think they're on, but they're not actually seated in the groove. There we go. See, now this is back together. Once the planetary is done, then you can move on to the other parts. Like in here, we want to put this right here is a mess too. So we got this cleaned up, but we got to stick this back in here, but we definitely want to get some lubrication on it. So we're just going to put a thin layer of this grease on here. And you can use whatever kind of grease you prefer. If you prefer the Kitchenaid food safe grease, you know, by all means go for it. I don't. I prefer this synthetic all-purpose grease here, this Lucas oil. And the reason why, I mean, you saw how much oil was all throughout, had leaked out of here and got all over everything. And that's the reason why I personally don't prefer the Kitchenaid grease. But, you know, everybody's got their preference. You know, if you want you know, if you have a different preference even, you know, by all means, you know, use whatever works best for you, wherever you feel comfortable using. And you just want to also be sure to coat all your teeth on all your gear surfaces as well. And you know, this had just a small amount of grease compared to what they usually have. I'm going to end up putting in, you know, significantly more grease than what was in here originally, but I'm not going to put it all in that cover right there. I mean, I've got, you know, I'm gonna put it all on. Most of the grease will end up being right where the gears are, where the gears ride. So, matter of fact, I think I'll move this out of the way. Move this over here so you guys can see this a little bit better. I'm gonna get this put together now. And this gets, you know, the shaft. Oh yeah, let's get grease on that. This gets the shaft here. This is the worm gear that is designed to fail, and you can look at it and see, you know, if you see any wear on it at all, you can go ahead and you can buy these gears. They're dirt cheap. You know, you can buy them right from any place that sells Kitchenaid parts, and you'll notice like when it says saying flat, they'll be concave. But that one looks pretty good, so we're going to go ahead and reuse that one. And make sure that you got your 2 washers as well. And you definitely want to get a little lubrication on this too. And you can even get some on your washers, because this whole thing is going to end up being covered in grease. So, you know, if you want, you can run it up there and pre-lube everything too. It might be a little help centering your washer. And then just find the hole where your pin was. You may have to adjust up or down. And you can reinsert your pin in there. And this can be a little bit tricky because it's not easy to hold on to all that. And I've got a punch around here somewhere. So anyway, with Kitchenaids, make sure you have plenty of room to work. Alright, just want to drag your pin in there flush or close to it. In this case, close to it. Alright, so now this part is ready to go on here, but we're going to put our other gear on first. I just want to get this assembled. And where's our other gear? Alright, this gear right here, I may have said that the other part had 2 washers on it, but it's this part right here. It gets the 2 washers, and then this end, after it goes through, gets 1 washer on it, or I should say on this end. Make sure your washers are on there, and you can actually, you know, get some grease here on all your washers too, since, you know, they are basically moving apart. And then just pile some grease up on there. There. Now that you've got that installed, you can go ahead and put on your worm gear drive. And there's a pin right here, a locating pin. So you want to make sure you get that in your hole. And the other locating pin is actually on here. And it goes down in there. So once you get those two lined up, it should fit right into place. And just run your screws back in. See, also some main signal right there. That's the to the receiver. Have essentially the collar again, roll it into there. This is perfect. That's what we do. You shine here. And then button. Do that here. You can more heat. Blue as well. The door. No, please. Sit outside. Let us look. Between teeth. That's what it's supposed to be. No, close your ear. Doesn't anyone consider it. That's what we're doing. These heads over here, which is grease up. These fingers. These half screws off there. That's big. I'll give you every pop your arm right here. So we turn that piece up now. Look down. And then there's area on the piece. And back all your information on the lever. This seems to be I think it's in fact packed, but that's what he's down on the internet. I'll do this one. That's real grease something like. But just one more to just remember what I said, don't be shy with your grease. Alright, so that's a load of grease right there. But we've got everything covered, we've got a good supply. And now, we're about ready to assemble this. Get some of this grease out of the way there. Okay. Let me grab a new gasket. Alright, where your gasket in place, you put your two halves together. Alright, you see it's just the thickness of the gasket right there. So now it's time to reattach these two halves here. Alright, all that's left is planetary. Okay, same deal here. I'll make sure you got all your teeth coated well. All your moving surfaces. Remember, we did put a little grease under this one, so you want to make sure you get all these teeth in here coated too. And don't forget about your washer. sure you get plenty there. I know that doesn't look like a lot of grease, but compared to how much was in there when we took it apart, that's a lot. Alright, so that we've got everything lubed up. Don't forget your O-ring. You can just roll that right on down to the slot it fits in. Find your hole. Get your planetary on. It's going to take a little more effort to get it over the O-ring. And try and center it up in your hole in the shaft there. So you get your pin in. Now you can drive your pin home when you have some room to swing. There. Okay, so now we got this assembled. We can go ahead and we got our ring all cleaned up. We can go ahead and put this back on. And this one just pushed right into place, so that's always good. Alright, now we get the stand, and we can work on this now. We're going to work on this lift arm, even though this one seems to work fine. Goes nice and easy. These do have a tendency to bind up in here where steel goes into this alloy, aluminum housing, whatever it is. So there's a pin in here that holds everything together. We're just going to drive this pin out of here. You can see the pin right there. Then we can just pull it out of here. They're usually in there pretty good. Yep. So we'll flip it over and we'll just drive that out. And then we can take this apart and get some lubrication on there. There, you can hear when it goes down, and now that's out. So now we can pull the handle out, and we just let the rest of this just drop down. Now if you look on here, you can see all this is just metal that's being worn off right there, and there's no grease on this. I mean, the ring's put in there dry. So we're going to clean that off really quick. And I'm just going to use a piece of 600 grit here. Just to get that nice and smooth there. And we'll do the same here. There. So now you can see the difference in that. Now I'm just going to take a piece of wax and just get some wax on here. There, that's pretty much all we need to do. And now we put our pin back in. And that, of course, is just the opposite. Taking it out. You know, it goes nice and smooth. And I mean, if you wanted to, you could always, you know, wax these up too. I don't really see much point because this is a loose, that's a really loose fit on there. But in here, I definitely like putting something on there just to keep that lubricated. Alright, so now we got that done. We can go ahead and we can mount our motor back to the top of here. And we're going to put our screws back in. Okay, back to our regular view now. We're going to go ahead now and just check everything in here. We're going to take this out. We're going to take our rear plate off of here and get some lubrication, because there's a bushing in there that's got an oil wick in it, but there's no oil hole in it. But you can get to it from the back. You can get to the wick and get that saturated with oil again. We're just going to take a look at the parts that are in here and make sure everything's okay. So we're just going to unplug all of our leads on here, and all these wires are colored, and they're all marked on here which color wire goes where. So it's kind of a no-brainer, you know, if you were to disconnect all these to put it back together. Alright, so with all that disconnected, there's a spring down here. You see that spring right there, and you can hook it on the housing there, and it should catch on it. And then just unscrew your control plate here. Alright, now once that's out of the way, you can see there's a ground wire right here from the cord. So if you're changing the cord on here, you've got your white and your black that hook to the speed control plate, and then one ground screw that grounds the chassis. And then you can remove your cord and replace it. Okay, now we want to take our flyweight off of here, and that just pulls straight off. There's a little pin on here, and there's two notches in here, and you got to get them both to engage on that pin. So it just pops off. Don't forget to take your pin out, because that's something you definitely don't want to lose. And then there's two nuts in here that we got to get off. Let's get this rear gasket out of the way here first. And you can get in there with a socket or something, but I just prefer these since it's real quick. And surprisingly, there's no lock washer back there. I thought these normally had like one of a star-shaped lock washer, the pointy kind of lock washers back there. Alright, so now that all that's done, you can start pulling, you know, this whole plate out here. And ideally, it should just walk right on out for you. Just got to be careful of your lever here. You may have to swing it out of the way. Make sure there's no washers on the back. Okay. So on here, you can see there's the bushing. You can see the felt sticking out from around here. So you just want to get that relubricated. And it'll drink up quite a bit of oil. And when it starts puddling up, and then the puddle goes nowhere, you know the wick is saturated. And you can put a little bit on the bushing there itself. Alright, I'm going to go through and just soak up this excess here. There. That's relubricated. Alright, we're also going to attempt to pull out this armature. Now there is a bearing in there that's pressed in, but it's not pressed in very tight. And you should be able, without much effort, to just pull this right out. Okay, you see our new grease, and then here's that bearing I was talking about, and you can see. Okay, so we got our armature back in here, and sometimes you have to get a little pop on the back here just to make sure that that bearing is seated in there. You know, it's not a tight fit, but it's kind of snug. Now we're going to go ahead and since we got this all lubricated here, we're going to go ahead and put this back in here, and it's just the opposite of, you know, the way you took it apart. Just get everything lined up, get it together, and get your nuts on here. Alright, you just want to snug them up good. You don't want to really torque them down because you don't want to, you don't want to, you know, shift anything, get anything out of whack on here. So just snug them good. I should probably grab a socket for this, but I can have it tightened out this by the time I find the socket and get it set up. So, alright, there. That's nice and tight. Make sure everything spins freely. Before we put anything else on, I want to put our cord on. Put a ground connection on here. You guys see that? This cord was pinched right there. So I am going to be ordering up a new cord for this because I don't want to put it back in there because there's bare copper showing right there. So we're not going to put it, we're not going to leave this cord in. We're going to hook it up now and just leave it hang out, just so we can fire it up, make sure everything works good. But I am going to order up a new cord for this before we send it back. And putting the cord back on is just as simple as it was taking it off. I mean, tighten up your ground lug there. These two will hook to here once this goes on. Now to put this on, before that goes on, we want to put our pin and everything in here. That's something you definitely don't want to forget. I just grab them with a pair of needle nose and drop that pin right down in the hole, and then find your notch on here, line it up, and push it till it makes that second snap on there, and just make sure it's connected. Alright, now for this, remember that spring that we took off of there? Before I do that, let me put this back on. So you should put that back on. Wait a minute. This will go in there. I think I might be alright here. Nope. Nope, it's gotta go. So, let's make sure both our wires down here are out. Your wires are clear. There we go. Now, we can attach this again. Yeah. Guessing. That's right, there we go. There, snug that up. Now we can put this on. And we just want to grab our spring, which should still be hooked here. It's dark under here and I can't see. Spring. Alright, there we go. The spring, believe it or not, is probably the trickiest part of this whole thing here. If you look on here, you'll see there's a square notch right there. Right there. That's where this white piece here has to go under this metal bar and through that notch. And then you can hook your spring. There's a slat right here for your spring underneath. Just make sure it seats in there good. Alright. So once you got that done, you go ahead and run these screws in some. This is where you're going to make your speed adjustment, so you don't want to run these in all the way. Alright, you want to get it in there some, and then you can start hooking up your wires again. Now remember, like I said, the wiring on here, it's all color coded. The wires are color coded, and these are marked for which color goes where, so it's pretty much idiot proof. I mean, even I can do it. Now we got a white wire on the bottom, red and white wire here, and then red and red, but one red comes up from the bottom, one from the top, so you obviously put the one coming from the bottom on the bottom. And then over here you've got black and blue on the top, and then you've got black at the bottom, which of course would be your cord connection, black, and then white from your cord connection. There, and that's all there is to the wiring. And this would, of course, you know, tuck in here, and that would get fast. But being that we're going to replace, I'm just going to leave this hang out, and we would plug it in and test it up. But I got to get brushes back in here first. And one thing about these Kitchenaids, you'll notice all the brushes that you get now got a taper on them, but these newer ones have a little corner cut into the brush holder, so these have to go a particular direction. And I believe this side is up, so if the notch is on the top, you want to make sure your concave goes like this, but your beveled part of the brush faces up. And that would mean this one, you want your concave going the same way, but your bevel facing down. There. Alright, so now we put our brush caps back on. Yeah, we might as well go ahead and just snug these right up. Alright, let's plug her in and see what she does. Wow, that was pretty good eyeballing that. Might be a little fast on the speed here. So to make adjustments on here, you want to take your top two screws, and to start out with, you want to take your top two screws, and you want to try to keep your plate even on here. I know some people say cock it at an angle or whatever till it sounds best, but try and keep your plate even to everything else and make adjustments evenly. And you want, one rotation per second on here. So you can, let it tap your finger, kind of 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3. Now see, I'm still just slightly fast on it. 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000. Okay, so that's a pretty good speed right there. Now you want to move up to your second speed. And we're actually going to go through all the speeds on here quick. But you can tell there's a difference in that. Alright, the speeds are set. This bottom screw on here is an adjustment for, basically it's for your high speed. There is a number, you put it on speed 2 and you set it for so many revolutions per minute, and I can't recall what it is right now. It's been quite a while since I looked at the service manual, but what I usually do is I usually go up to full speed on here, and then I go back a notch, and if it's the same on the second to last speed as the first one, then I'll just adjust this till that speed drops down a little bit, and then come back and check all the speeds on here, because I know when these are out of adjustment, you could get to the end and just have your last few clicks be all the same, or just your last 2 clicks be the same speed. But you can tell this thing sounds, really good. Now it ran good when it came in, but obviously the grease was pretty crappy in it and stuff. So, it's probably going to be a little bit quieter. I'm not used to running it. I mean, I ran it for that little bit, but I'm sure she'll notice a difference in it being quieter, especially that planetary. I mean, I think that thing, had to make quite a bit of noise having no grease in there whatsoever. So that should be much quieter now. I'm not going to put this back cover on here. Just because we're going to be replacing the cord, so I'm just going to set that aside, and but we will go through and we will get the band back on here. Okay, so since we know that this runs and the speeds are adjusted, I went through and I just disconnected the cord from here since we're going to be replacing it anyways. But now we can go ahead and we can get our band attached on here, and it's also just the opposite of the way we took it off. I'll just make sure it's seated down where it's going to go. And sometimes you'll see these things will have, they'll come out away from the machine a little bit, and there's really not a lot that you can do about that. You can try and bend this a little bit tighter here, but it doesn't always work. I got a bigger screwdriver here somewhere, and I don't know where the heck I put it. This is that one that was tight coming out, but it seems to be going in better than it went out. And this is the one that was crooked, and of course it went back in crooked. Alright. So now, let's spin this around out. Fucking levers. We'll just put our end back on here. So, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to set this aside until we get the cord, and then once we get the cord, we go ahead and attach the cord, put the back cover back on, and then get this back to the owner there. But this one went well. As you see, there's, it's not that difficult to do the maintenance work on these. No matter what it is you're doing, changing the cord is easy, adjusting the speeds is easy. It seems overwhelming to a lot of people, but it's really not. Changing the grease is, and cleaning everything out is, of course, time consuming and a royal pain in the butt. Taking it apart, there's a total of 5 screws in the front under this ring. Of course, your tilt head models, you don't have to take these 4 screws out and take it off the neck. To your tilt head models, there's 2 screws in the back here and 2 under here, and then your 5 under this ring, and then the halves will separate. But on these, lift bowl models, you got to take these 4 screws out here and then take your entire motor assembly off, and then, pop your ring. You got your 5 screws under here, 2 here, and then 2 under here. And once you get those off, that's when the real work begins, because then you've got to get all the old grease out of there and get everything cleaned up really good. I guess if you're using, the Kitchenaid grease again, you probably don't have to get it as clean, but I don't like mixing different kinds of greases, so, I try to make sure I get every speck of that old Kitchenaid crap out of there, and before I put my grease in there. And the grease, a lot of people ask about the grease that I use, and I use this for all the mixers, but this is Lucas oil. It's called Red and Tacky. It's a red lithium based grease. It's got a lot of good features to it. Temperature stability tested to 540 degrees, which means it's not going to start melting, running all over the place, as quick as most others. Chassis and wheel bearing protection, resistance to acid and alkali, resistance to rust and corrosion, which I noticed in this one there was some rust along with the chunky old dried up grease on the PTO gear. There's also some rust on there, so it's got good resistance to water and good cold weather characteristics, which means the stuff doesn't get turned like waxy when it's cold. And this stuff is also designed to be used on open gears. Right here, high quality lithium complex grease fortified with extreme pressure lubricant additives that inhibits rust, corrosion, and oxidation, setting it apart from similar greases. Excellent for trucks, cars, industrial equipment, farm equipment, boat trailers, wheel bearings. And it said that it's also good for like open gears that aren't enclosed in a case, because of the way the film actually sticks to the gear. So that's why I really like this grease here for these things. And it's not a super thick grease, so it's not going to be too thick for some of your smaller machines. I just found that it's an excellent grease all the way around. But then again, some people do prefer the food safe grease in their machines, and that's fine. I have nothing against that. It's completely personal preference. I would never say no if somebody said they want food safe grease in here, as long as they're willing to pay the extra for me to get the food safe grease. I'll gladly put it in. But I don't think it holds up nearly as well as this. I think it runs and it gets runny when it gets warm. I may do a test one day and compare the two and try and get a sample of each, get it really cold to see what the difference is, and then warm it up some to maybe like 120 degrees or whatever, just to see what the difference is in them as far as temperature, what it does to viscosity. But that'll be another video. But anyways, this one's a wrap other than the cord. Like I said, as soon as I get the cord in, we're going to get it on here, get it back to the owner. So if you guys have any questions or comments, leave them down below, and I will get to those as soon as I can. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. Let me know that you liked it. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down, and call me a jerk or whatever in the comments. Just leave a comment, tell me why you don't like it, and don't forget to subscribe and click that bell so you can be notified when we post other videos, because we got a few cool things coming up. We're back to powder coating some projects now, so we've got some nice powder coated stuff coming up, and you never know what else we're gonna be putting out. I've got a really interesting mixer that somebody sent me that's one of the ones getting powder coated, and I think you guys will want to see that mixer as well. So subscribe and click that bell, and as always guys, thanks for watching. We will see you on the next one.